Oh, absolutely. Delaware.
Okay, we found common ground.
On the floor.
Excellent. Who has a 100-word summary of the trouble you guys got into last session?
Also Maryland.
No. What? What?
We were told that the flying pig. We had an adventure in a sewer,
Mhm.
and then at the end of the adventure in the sewer, we were told that the flying pig is living openly in Dunfoss. They are definitely a fiend, and that they are not hiding themselves through illusion or shapeshifting.
Yes.
And then we came back up here to think about that and reevaluate our life choices.
Okay. And have you done that?
My life choices tell me that I've told Gus that he probably needs to drink more.
Objection, but not willing to make that fight right now.
Also, we had a brief discussion in the Discord, and I came to the conclusion that of the Scooby Gang, Lucius is Daphne. There you go.
And like I said, you wish you could have this figure.
Wait, when we said we were Scooby-Doo, I assumed we meant that we were all Scooby-Doo. That's how I've been playing my character.
This is how. So using that criteria, we think we narrowed down to, like, I'd say, what, 4 fiends is what you said before you started the session, Treble?
Something like that, yeah. Like, because I was going through the books, I'm like, well, I even put the demons on there, but I'm like, I'm probably going to push the demons to the side because Brook Road is constantly going on about how demons, you don't make deals with demons. They say yes and then they kill you and like rape your corpse.
What if it was a long con?
Demons aren't capable of long cons.
Are we sure Seeker's not Velma? Because I always like Seeker, like short,
No.
kind of frumpy with big
No.
glasses and a little skirt.
No,
Okay.
no. Alexander's Velma.
That's not fair.
Are you guys gonna fight
Alexander's
over
usually-
who gets to be Velma?
I mean, I don't disagree, but at the same time, I'm the one that hangs out with the dog.
I mean, sometimes Velma gets, when they say split up gang, he sends Velma off with Shaggy and Scooby sometimes when he's DTF with
Over the course of this next session, whoever says Zoinks or Jinkies first can claim those roles in the Scooby Gang, okay? That's how we'll decide it. If you want to plant your flag somewhere, or if you want to say, let's split up gang, that's another one. Daphne doesn't have a catchphrase. Worst character by far.
She does. Jeepers.
Jeep? Really?
Yeah.
Yep.
No, that gets said like a lot.
Mhm.
I've seen a lot of Scooby-Doo.
They
I'm not-
all have catchphrases. They all have them.
I'm not up on my Scooby lore. I've been schooled. Thank you, Nodal.
Zoinks!
No, thank him.
So it is the morning of the 24th. It is Ends
Yep.
Day, and my calendar says that on the 24th, you have a potion coming to you,
Yep.
and Lucius owes his Keyskin retainer 10 gold.
Yeah. Yeah, I do. So yeah, I will go ahead and handle that.
Okay?
You should get him to give you your bank account so you can just direct deposit that.
Get that rose gold card.
That's a credit card, sir. It's not a bank account.
Oh my
Get it.
God.
You should probably get your debit card in Rose Gold. You should ask your bank.
Wells Fargo? I don't know. I don't think Wells Fargo does it.
You'll never know until. Hey man, you never know until you try.
I just
This is
read.
honestly how real table sessions go sometimes, guys, at home. Like not even kidding.
I'm so full of Dayquil, I have no idea what any of you are saying.
Talking about the Rose Gold credit card. again.
Dingies.
So do we want to get some morning actions for the 24th? So
Shit.
to be clear, I'll remind everybody where we are. Last session, they met the judge in the sewers,
We did.
and they have some ideas on who in Dunfoss is the flying pig.
Did we get a long rest at the end of that session?
You can go ahead and take one. It's fine.
Okay.
There's no reason you can't.
All right. Do you guys want to You want to talk through that real quick, or before we do our morning actions, or after?
Let's do it after.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, I have like half a dozen bodies to deal with here.
Are you doing that throughout the morning?
Yeah.
Do you want me to help you?
If you want, I mean, I've got the bag of holding, so.
You still got
Gross.
to, like, you've still got to move them once they're out of the bag of holding.
Yeah.
I'll help you with that.
Keep in mind, you can only get into or out of the sewers.
Yeah, once a day.
Yeah, you can make that, well, twice a day, because there would be 2 shifts
Oh, yeah,
over
yeah.
the course of a day.
Yeah, I mean, I think what I'm doing right now is dealing with the ones that are already in the bag, and then I got to go back in and get the rest.
We've
All
got
right.
like 20 bodies in the bag.
How are we dealing with these bodies?
Boy, I've been thinking about that, and there's no god specifically that would be, I'd go to their temple and say, hey, there's a bunch of, like, your domain includes, that you've said before, that is a notable absence in the local pantheon, right?
That's the thing about Dunfoss, is there's not really a pantheon at all. There's a lot of temples to a lot of individual gods.
Right.
And it would be difficult to find a large enough population who their primary god is a god of death.
Okay.
What do the authorities do when they find a dead bum on the street?
Probably just chuck them into Gnome Town.
I believe what I've heard is that they try and figure out what temple they go to.
They
So
in
everyone
some cases, but they probably don't try very hard in those cases.
Yeah, exactly. I think the only one of these that needs special handling is Percival's relative. I think for the rest of them, I just need to get some burial shrouds and chuck them into wherever the current's going to not carry them back into the harbor.
I mean, you have the pit here in Gnome Town.
I think that would be a little disrespectful.
Consigning
No,
them
I'll-
to the sea would probably be a
that's
pretty
the idea.
common and respectful thing to do with unknown bodies in Dunfoss.
Yeah, if I have to rent a boat, I have to get some burial shrouds. I gotta take care of all that. If you want to row.
Yeah, I'll row.
So Alex and Gus are taking care of that. What is Lucius doing this morning?
Going to speak with my contact with the Cheeskin Embassy.
Okay.
Specifically, I'd like to know, because it's getting pretty close to when when the new ambassador's due to arrive.
Mm-hmm.
I'm trying to see if I can put a pin on that date.
Okay.
Yeah.
What's Florian doing?
Gonna be contingent on what Seeker's up to. Seeker's doing anything interesting.
Seeker's not doing anything interesting.
Okay, then Florian's gonna go back to his jeweler's kit studies.
Okay. And what about Seeker?
Seeker is going to Caitlin Chubb to pick up his magic item.
The
Yeah.
the clairvoyance?
Yeah, I do want to do a test though, before I go.
What kind of tests?
I want to prick my finger
Okay.
to cause like a drop of blood to come out of my body. And then I want to take a glass of water and I want to mix it up in the water. And then I'm going to cast Locate Object, looking for the closest source of blood that's not in my body.
What's the expectation here?
Seeker has no expectation because he doesn't know how the magic works. The experiment is Seeker gave her a drop of blood to get used in the creation of this magic item. He's checking to see if you dilute blood, you can still detect it. So he'll be able to tell if the blood is in that gem or not, or in the item or not. Seeker doesn't know whether it's going to work or not. That's why he's doing the test.
Okay, what's your expectation as a player?
I don't know. It's like the blood is there. Like in the spell says it locates the blood, but it's like it's not technically just blood anymore. So I don't know. I don't know how you'll rule that one. I got no guesses.
All right. So walk me through this again.
Okay. So I gave a drop of my blood to Caitlin Chubb to get used in the creation of this item. I don't know for sure if she's going to actually use it in the creation of the item or if she was just lying to me. So what I'm trying to figure out here is, can I detect blood that has been diluted by something else?
Here's the problem. The spell says it can locate a specific object,
Yeah.
and you're trying to locate some vague quantity of liquid. To specify the way the spell reads, the intended use of it seems to be on discrete objects, which blood is not. Like, if you just cast the spell and say water, the spell probably isn't going to function in a way that's helpful at all. If you were to use the spell to find a very specific drop of water,
then it might be more useful. So what if I look for that drop of blood that I just took?
You know the difference between... This is not the kind of question I need to be worrying about on 2 shots of Dayquil.
You could just say no. Like I said, that's why I phrased it as an experiment.
Okay. If you can describe an object as being in discrete, countable...
Yeah.
Then locate object will function properly. But just to cast the spell and specify blood as the object... I don't think it can be helpful.
Okay.
Unless you have like a very specific drop of blood in mind.
Right.
The problem here is you've
longer...
diluted it in water. Now it's
right.
like homeopathic blood.
Okay,
and
got it.
Homeopathy is, as we all know, complete BS.
So the way Seeker thinks of it then, from then on, is, okay, if I get the gem back and it very clearly has a drop of blood in it, I can do this check. But if it doesn't, then it's not going to work.
In any case, Caitlin Chubb gives you the thing that you wanted.
Okay, so does it what kind of effect does it have? Because she said that it would have some sort of effect if it got given this blood. Or like was she blowing smoke up me?
My understanding is this is just the spell component you need to cast Clairvoyance. Correct?
It was like she gave it some vague wording, but like she was also very vague about it, so it's this is great.
Yeah,
and,
a focus worth at least 100 gold.
Yep. And I thank her for the focus.
Excellent. Florian, what were you doing? Jeweler's kit?
Jeweler's kit, yeah.
Okay, you're tracking that?
Yep.
Lucius, have you paid your man?
Yeah.
Okay.
Mr. My book is over here, so I can get it.
And you wanted to know when he'll be arriving.
Yes. Trying to nail that down.
Okay. The new ambassador is expected at some point in the next 2 weeks.
Okay.
Although they couldn't say exactly when that will be, such as the nature of sea travel.
Mm-hmm.
Very notably, a Keyskin ship like this would not have a priest of Osprim aboard whose job it is to essentially control the weather along the length of the voyage.
Yeah.
Do you need any more specific information than that, or does that answer your question?
No, that answers my question. Yeah, so got about 2 weeks until then.
Alex and Gus, do you intend to use the next 2 shift changes throughout the course of the 24th to take care of these bodies and get them disposed of?
I will go with Alexander if he wants to do that.
Yeah, that's my intention.
Okay, so you're going to be at this all day then. Going down with the next shift change to receive the next group of bodies, and then coming back up in the following shift change. Unless you want to just try to kill the guards and get access that way.
How much EXP are they worth?
Probably very little.
Ah, yeah, that's fine then. We don't have to
That'll just make it take longer, more bodies.
You got to make sure when you got to the desert, you have the holes pre-dug. You don't know who's going to come along and You got to dig a couple more holes. You'll be out there all night.
So yeah, the only one I'm not going to just dump into the ocean then would be Penniless's relative, the nobleman.
So what are we doing with that one then?
I mean, I think I'm gonna wrap that one in a burial shroud and actually put it on the barge. Can any of us cast Gentle Repose?
Nope.
Okay. I think we should do some investigation around what happened to that guy before we turn his body over to his family.
Anything in particular you suspect, or is this just a test?
I mean, how do you think he got involved in it? We kind of found out what happened with the Gith and the two people, the guy working for the gentleman and the moss cap, but seems to be the only other noteworthy member of that group.
Yeah.
My initial suspicion was just wrong place, wrong time, but
Yeah.
you're right that it's odd that he went missing and we haven't heard about it. I feel like
Yeah.
a nobleman goes missing, you probably hear something.
Yes, that one before we hand the body over to them. I think we should do some investigation.
Question: does anybody know if this guy is in the what is the? We know Percival Penniless was disinherited. So what does the inheritance situation look like? He had a sister and she is currently she's the current head. Like Percival's father's dead, isn't he?
That is my recollection, but I can double check that for you.
And that means that this guy that died, it was it his cousin or his nephew? Because if we have the dead heir to a noble house on our boat, that's going to be bad.
If he was an heir, you almost certainly would have heard of his disappearance. Let me see if I can pull that up here. Give me 1 second. So yeah, the current head of the Von Church house is Percival's older sister, Lenos. Their father would have been long dead by this point. So this man would have been a lesser member of the house, maybe a nephew or a cousin of Percival.
Does Percival have more than one sibling?
Probably.
Okay. All right.
So the actual heir to the house would be Lenos's firstborn. Whoever that is. That wouldn't be this guy, though.
Yep. That was just my concern. We're keeping the dead body of a noble on our thing, and we could probably explain it away and say we weren't 100% sure what house he belonged to. Maybe get Seeker to lie or something. I don't know. But yeah.
Okay, so on the first, we're going to start looking into an investigation into how he disappeared. Is that the idea?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The first of the month is Doomsday.
Ah, God.
Florian,
I feel like we just did this.
That's me.
you owe the Signers Guild 3 gold pieces or equivalent in trade.
I thought I did trade. I thought I got the excess. That's when I hit the big bucks, 25 gold or whatever. Was that a month ago?
Yes, we jumped 3 weeks ahead.
We did jump 3 weeks ahead. Shit. I'll just take it out of petty cash then.
Okay.
Smart.
Seeker, you own 15 silver pieces or equivalent in trade.
Yeah, I'm also just going to pay the money.
Okay. Lucius,
Lucius is 45 gold, right?
45 gold.
Yeah, Lucius will go to Lessons Tap and pay that out of pocket.
Okay. And Alexander.
Yeah.
So I have a question.
Yeah.
Alex, do you think they'll let someone else come along? 'Cause
Ooh,
I have,
I'm
I
sure
have a
they
curiosity about her.
love
Very no.
someone else. Oh, really?
Very, very no. Yulari is very guarded about their magical secrets and things, about their being a magical guild. In fact, in any other capacity, a gnome of your station would feel very privileged to be a member of the guilds. This is not a privilege that they would extend to just anybody. So yeah, Seeker tagging along would be very, very no.
All right, then, and Seeker will describe the druid that he met in town that now owes them a favor. See if you can find anything out about her. See what happened.
As a drunken suggestion, Gus would give them, tell them that, well, why don't you just pretend to be Alexander, the makeup and stuff. That way, Alexander doesn't have to go, and you can go and ask your questions.
Wait a minute. Have we gotten to that? Have we gotten to that episode of our Saturday morning cartoon here?
And Seeker says, Gus, that's a fantastic suggestion, and I'll take it under advisement.
Okay.
Are we attempting to do that today?
No, and Seeker's looking at Alex and just shaking his head no. For one thing, I don't have a giant mechanical badger.
You can borrow Alexander's.
They don't allow the giant mechanical badger in there, I thought.
Oh, they don't. That's right. See, this idea is looking better and better. I'll be quiet now. I'm sorry.
Alexander.
Yeah.
Once again, for the second month in a row, your activities at Yalari are being directed by Lady Elmwings.
Yep.
And once again, the activities are a little disconcerting. It's the kind of magic that Yalari would typically not practice, would not share, but Elmwings is very clear about how she is fervent in her belief that putting all of this bizarre, sometimes harmful elven magic into a lockbox and leaving it alone for generations, she believes that would lead eventually to there being no living experts in it. And so when it becomes rediscovered, it is made all the more dangerous because nobody knows how to handle it responsibly. So anyway, today's lesson involves refining a particular kind of monster blood. She doesn't actually identify the source of the monsters, except to say that they're more common around Kiska in the deserts than they are on this side of the ocean.
Mm-hmm.
And the blood, when refined in a certain way, can be worked into metal. And when this metal strikes a target of dwarven heritage, it is said to deal wounds that do not heal. And in this way, the Sylvan Elves of Tetluteus won great wars when their homes began encroached upon by the dwarven homes. And that's what you spend your day doing these refinements, learning how it's done. Obviously, nothing that you refine today is going to be worked into any kind of metal for some way.
Where does the blood come from? Does she bring an animal and kill it, or does she just have vials of it?
She has a small cask made out of lacquered wood that has sealant on it so that the blood can't soak into the wood. And it has markings on it showing it to be of Kiskan origin. One of your other students there, kind of partway through the day, kind of elbows you a little bit, you being the only gnome there.
Uh-huh.
And, wouldn't this be highly illegal? If the Dwarven King of Dunfoss or his family were to find out that Yalari was refining material that could be used against those of Dwarven heritage?
Yeah, that's probably not going to go over well. There's no way that's not illegal. You're definitely right. Especially the refinement process.
Other than that, it's extremely educational.
Mm-hmm.
Elmwings seems very, very learned about the biology of dwarves and how it differs in various dwarven bloodlines, and she speaks a great deal about these wars that were fought between elves and dwarves in the long past. And at the end of the day, after this refinement process, she collects all the material back up into the same lacquered cask, and you are sent back about your day. Is there anything you're looking to accomplish at your guild hall today at the Yolari Gardens?
Yeah, let's see if I can find anything out about that druid Seeker was interested in.
Which druid was that, Seeker?
It was an elf who was
Pet
insane.
shop owner.
Yeah, pet shop owner. But it seemed to me that she was something of a powerful druid, and also an elf living in the city. So it's weird that she's not known.
Yeah, go ahead and make an investigation check, Alex.
Sure.
Are you trying to do this kind of on the DL, or are you just gonna go out and blatantly ask some Yolari high ups if they know anything?
I mean, I don't think I'd ask the high ups specifically, but I also, beyond that, I don't think I would. I'd probably just ask people at my own station, basically, what they knew. That's an investigate of 22.
22. Her name is Gemamine Sweetgrass. And the general consensus among... She's well known to Yolari, first of all. The general consensus is that she is absolutely crazy. She's out of her mind. The source of her insanity, there's a lot of rumors about it. You hear two kind of contradictory stories. One thing you hear is just the standard dreaminess of elves, just their kind of racial complexities, leads to this kind of madness if they live too far away from their natural habitat for too long. There's a reason that half-elves flourish in big cities like Dunfoss, but full-blooded elves don't, and you don't see them very often. The other thing you hear is that that's obviously complete rubbish. Elves can live anywhere they want, but this particular woman has delved too deeply into mysteries of nature, and it has just broken her mind somehow. She's done too much with poisons and tinctures, or she drank water from the wrong enchanted stream, or whatever the case, and it has addled her brain. That being said, you do confirm that even though she's completely crazy, she is a high-level spellcaster. She is a druid of some renown. Yolari has never reached out to see if she was interested in membership. They have no interest in doing that, and Gemamine has never approached them.
Okay.
Seeker, was there anything more specific than that you wanted to know? I mean, my man rolled a 22.
If it's not specifically known what caused it, maybe just how long she's been in the city.
To that end, she has visited Dunfoss many times over the past... Yolari would have half-elves. Quite a lot of half-elves in it. Since the time they were children. So possibly back even before the previous King Humberth's day, which was 100 years ago or more. However, she's only lived in the city for maybe the past 10 years or so, where she arrived and she bought this premises and she set up shop, and that's when she concocted this fairy tale that the shop was owned by a little mouse, and she's just like the mouse's secretary or whatever.
All right, that's all I'm curious about.
Okay.
Thank you.
What is everybody else doing on the first? Since nobody's got to work.
Well, I mean, I'm not working because it's usually a pain in the ass to get work this day. Or jewelers can't unless anyone else is doing anything
do.
They need help with, or they're doing anything interesting.
Okay. What's Lucius doing today?
What is it? What's the procedure generally like when I go and pay my dues at Tilesness App? Is there like other people there? Is there like some kind of procedure I go through? Like what's...
Imagine like a group of old like Oxford alums having coffee and reminiscing about their college days. That's kind of what it's like. Because a lot of people from a lot of like apt alums from all over the city come together, and there's some congregation and some meeting of minds. So it's a pleasurable experience as long as you have contacts there. As far as the payment, you would just get in contact with one of the clerks and hand it over. They know who you are on site.
Mm-hmm. You know what? Lucius would do that, and he would try to see if any of them have received their training through the School of Senses.
In Kiska?
Yeah.
Now, Lucius. This is a very interesting question you just asked.
I did.
On a scale of 1 to 10. Here's the problem. The School of Senses, as you know, is a school of warlocks. And warlocks are not looked kindly upon in Dunfoss. In fact, I hear there's at least one company out there selling warlock insurance.
Say 15. Say 15.
Oh, he'll never expect it. He won't have anything planned.
Exactly.
Here's the reason that there's risk involved. Tilesnis
Yeah.
Apt is a school of magical learning. What that specifically means is wizards, book learning, the mathematics of magic. Whereas the School of Senses is more strongly tied to devilry, ritual magic, and sorcery, which is blood magic. So there are going to be elements in Tilesnis Apt that can go one of two ways. There are going to be elements in Tilesnis Apt that don't see the School of Senses as being, quote, real magic, as kind of looking down on it. And there are also going to be elements in Tilesnis Apt who have a great interest in things like devilry and rituals and blood magic. And this is what Lucius might end up getting tied into.
Let's do a 5, middle of the road.
Middle of the road, okay. So the question is, are there any Tilesnis Apt members that received training at the School of Senses?
Yeah. So at this point in time, like the School of Senses is all like that stuff is because I remember back in the first campaign, it seemed to be strictly wizard stuff, and I guess over time it's expanded, and eventually the warlock and blood magic kind of stuff kind of subsumed all of that, huh?
Yeah, not to put too fine a point on it.
I mean, the headmaster was Narconoloth?
That's
Yeah,
correct.
Yeah, that did happen. That was a thing that happened.
Remember, too, that Kiska had a strong tradition of low-level sorcerers in the city that have also risen to more prominence over the past. It's been about 100 years or so since that campaign. It's been quite a while.
Yeah. Okay.
Thanks for
Okay. And bear with me just 1 second. I have to look for a character here.
Oh.
If you guys knew how much world building I did that never ever makes it into the game, but I have the perfect character for this moment.
Oh.
John Cena.
John Cena, of course.
I saw a shit post yesterday that was that, and I was just like, oh, ouch.
It says right here, John Cena, but a warlock.
I mean, he's got charisma, so that does make sense.
He knows greater invisibility.
I was just about to say that. Fuck.
There's an old man in Tilesnis Apt. And man with a question mark, because while he's been known in Tilesnis Apt and been a member in good standing for a long time, and has even worked with the crown, even going back to the days of Queen Juliana, he's appeared as both a man and a woman at different times throughout history. Nobody knows how old he is, and he appears to be human, but it's kind of an open secret that he can't possibly be, otherwise he's way too old.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of times he shows up in, like I said, he'll change his gender, he'll change hair color. Sometimes he appears to be older, sometimes younger, sometimes a foot taller, sometimes less. Once in a while, with a strange limb attached. He's very dark about what he's doing with his own magical research. But people believe that it has to do with transmogrifications, turning one thing into another thing. And they think that such is the candor of his research that he'll do these experiments on himself. So the man's name is Treus Campt. And I'm going to assume, since you're just now bringing it up, you've never spoken with Campt before.
Camped?
Campt. First name is Treus.
Okay. Yeah, never really brought it up now.
You haven't really noticed these transformations, so either he's cooled it in recent years, or he's doing a better job of hiding it. He always does wear very heavy cloaks draped down over his face, usually of a variety of colors, but today a very dark blue one. And he always wears his apt colors very proudly. He has the sigil of it adorned on the back of his cloak today. And he walks very heavily leaning on a cane.
Mm-hmm.
Make an investigation check.
Okay. So 19.
So even before, you've heard rumors about this man before, and we'll say that your efforts today have confirmed one of them is probably true. Here's the story. Treus was born a sorcerer in Kiska and abandoned blood magic, crossed the ocean. He wanted to understand the nature of his own magic, and in doing so, shifted his own blood, kind of sapped the magic out of it over the years of experimentation and rituals. Essentially, like in mechanical terms, imagine somebody who had levels in sorcerer that trades them away for levels in wizard instead.
Okay.
If anybody is an expert in Dunfoss on Kiskan blood magic, it would be Treus. This is a man who has replaced his own blood at some point in the past, one of his transformation experiments. This is also a man who's much higher than your station in Apt, by far.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's like you said, he's been around for a century, right?
Yeah, that's the rumor.
Mm-hmm.
So what are we doing with Mr. Campt?
Would it be out of order for me to just strike up a conversation with the man?
No, not at all.
Okay. Yeah, then I would like to do that. Introduce myself as someone who's going to be eventually defending his own dissertation at the School of Sensi at some point in the future.
Make a wisdom saving throw.
Oh, hang on. Did not R. Hit the wrong key. You're looking at an 11 save throw.
11. All right.
Yeah.
You go to speak with Mr. Campt, and the first thing you recognize as you cross the room is he's much larger than you expected. Like, seeing him from across the room, under his big, heavy cloak, difficult to gauge. We actually get up there, though, It's clear the man's pushing 7 feet tall and has an enormous amount of bulk on him.
Mm-hmm.
To where you might even have difficulty lifting and folding his cloak. Lucius has a crappy strength, right?
Yeah. Like hot Garbo.
Looking into the man's face, completely bald, no hair at all, no eyebrows, no facial hair, no beard, nothing, just cue ball smooth. And his skin has this very silvery sheen to it. You're not sure in the lighting whether it looks metallic or whether it looks like slick and sickly. Difficult to say. His eyes are what you can't turn away from. As you strike up this conversation, like you meet this man's gaze and you just become lost in the pools of them. Like you don't even know what color they are. They're a color you've never seen before, never experienced, and you're fixated on them.
Mm-hmm.
And as you approach, this is Lucius, Udoc. You are known to me. What would you have of me today?
What I wanted to know is I'm looking for advice, mainly on defending my dissertation.
Putting it like that, he's going to assume you have one. You're giving a dissertation at Tylesnus Apt. Is that your intent?
No, the School of Senses.
And he kind of chortles to himself. And he motions out to the collected congregation of apt alums and says, when you have the most perfect pool of magical knowledge at your fingertips, and you would go splash in the bottom of that pan. He asks, what is the topic of your dissertation?
So I know I've given it some thought. I'm just trying to assemble the thoughts that I had into like an actual thing.
Do you want to take a minute?
Yeah, please.
All right. What's Alex doing? Oh, Alex is... Never mind. I know what Alex is doing. We already did Alex.
Yeah.
What is Gus doing on the first?
I don't know. He's just. I mean, he wouldn't be going out because we got to compile like information and stuff. The information we have about the flying pig and all that.
Okay.
So he'd probably be working on that just to see if he could come across anything else. Maybe we missed some commonality or something.
So is Gus in character doing the research and stuff that you've put together from...
Yeah, we'll
Okay.
say he's doing that. Yeah.
And what's Seeker doing on the first?
So I don't want to interfere with your thing, Gus, but I also kind of want to get started. I was gonna go look into whether or not what's the name of the person who owns the smoke shop?
Oh,
Savad.
Savad.
Yeah.
I was gonna go looking into whether anyone knows if Savad ever leaves the smoke shop.
Now and again. I mean, this is something Seeker would probably know, living in the shadows.
Okay.
But Savad, he frequents various shops in Wharftown. Very rarely comes into the city walls, though. He is somewhat of an outcast, which is to be expected. He's a Sabashi, and he runs kind of an illicit drugstore, so...
Then in that case, I think I'm going to get into disguise and start looking into his origins in the city. Start looking into when he got here, how long he's been here, what he's been doing, besides the smoke shop.
Where are we doing these investigations? Are you going to go to disguise in the smoke shop itself, like in and around Wharftown?
I think, though, just Wharftown, not necessarily the smoke shop itself yet.
Okay, go ahead and make that deception check for your disguise.
Okay. Can I add my disguise kit proficiency?
Yes. Oh, I'm sorry. Disguise get proficiency, not deception.
I've got both. Alright, 1 second. That is that is a 13.
What are you disguised as?
I think dock worker.
So the idea is just to conceal Seeker's identity.
Yes.
Okay, go ahead and make that investigation check, please.
Okay. Uh, 14.
There's very little common knowledge about Sabashi and Dunfoss. In fact, I don't even think I've got them on my list of like demi-human races that live here. So you do get a lot of conflicting information. Here's what you know for sure. Sabashi inhabit the jungles far to the north.
Mm-hmm.
It gets warmer and moisture as you go further and further north. There's a lot of rainforest and jungle territory. That's where the Tabashi hail from. A lot of swampland as well. There are stories, especially from antiquity, of Tabashi and Yanti forces fighting each other. Great, like snake men empires. Both races would be considered monster-like by Dunfoss standards. Savad came here with no small amount of wealth and a great amount of knowledge on how to refine various types of good time drugs.
Mm-hmm.
With lots of exotic plants, and then over time developed some techniques with stuff he could get more easily, more locally. It's said that he still does have contacts amongst his people far to the north, but who those people might be are kind of no concern to anybody here in Dunfoss. His smoke shop has been open for several years now, and 14 on investigation. On a scale of 1 to 10, how much risk is Seeker willing to put into this?
How hot does it seem like it's getting?
How hot?
Yeah.
I guess that's the same question I just asked you, rephrased.
So here's the reason why I turned it back on you.
Yeah.
Is because if it seemed like if it was starting to get dangerous, Seeker might take more effort into concealing his identity. He might start using spells, that sort of thing.
Okay. If it's starting to get hot, it's because the nature of Savad's business might come under scrutiny just because of the nature of the business, because it's a drug shop.
Got it.
However, he does operate openly.
Mm-hmm.
And he seems to have done so for several years, and he doesn't make any effort to really hide himself.
And I think that's enough for like a preliminary investigation.
Okay. Were you doing any of this inside the actual smoke shop, or are you just...
No, I stayed outside the smoke shop for now.
Okay. Staying outside the smoke shop. Now I need to make a perception check against your 13.
Make a perception check.
You also need to make a perception check.
Okay. First, I want to know if I want to make a perception. So, start of the day. Boop. That's what I forgot earlier.
Okay.
Yes, I want to make a perception check. That is a 13.
Okay. If you may recall, Savad has a harpist, a young woman named Starfingers.
Yep.
And outside of the smoke shop, most days, it's pretty clear that she's addicted to his stuff. Other than that, she seems to lead a pretty good life. However, she was very grief-stricken when Drudalf was killed. She was acquainted with him. Over the course of your investigations, however, you're pretty sure, as you walk past Starfingers, you're pretty sure her eyes lingered on you.
Okay.
For a little too long. You think you might have been marked.
Right.
Doing anything about that?
No, I'm just going to keep it in mind for now.
Okay. That's what I like to hear. And Gus, you weren't doing anything important at all, ever?
Uh-uh.
All right, Lucius, it's all you.
So I come up with this for Lucius's dissertation.
Sure.
And he's still doing research into this work, but what he wants to know what he wants to do his dissertation on is the potential origins of Trennis as a prison of fiends. How did Trennis become a plane where there are many doors in and precious few out?
Make an insight check.
I'm no good at these. Oh wait, no, those are Nodal's. Right? Those two next to the initiative tracker.
I wrote those down. Don't worry.
Okay. Ooh, that's a 19.
Wait, you just rolled this nat 20?
Yeah,
And it turned into... Your insight's -1?
yeah,
Aren't you a detective?
yeah.
Okay, gotcha.
I think
Listen,
we
we're
have this
specialized.
conversation every time.
You guys are in the... I knew it was bad. I didn't know it was that bad, man.
He's the Daphne. We've been over this.
he just... He's
All,
the,
all charisma, man. Daphne.
he wears the purple skirt. Okay. Lucius,
Hmm.
you're having this conversation at the Tylestis app. They have this main kind of sitting room lobby area, off which is where you would have gone in to pay your dues to one of the clerks. And many of these people are milling around. Camp is drinking a very strong coffee that you can smell, like stronger than the shit that Gus and Florian make back on the barge.
Mhm.
And for a moment, as you tell him, as you summarize what your dissertation is, he's drinking from his coffee, and you think you spotted his composure slip for a second, like he chokes on it a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And then he gingerly sets the cup down and turns back. He says, he would not expect a Udoc to choose this sort of topic. And he asks what led you to it.
It's something of a delicate matter. I don't want to. It's personal, honestly.
Does your father know that you're doing this kind of research?
No, he doesn't.
Have you come to me for advice on how to deliver a dissertation to the School of Senses? Or have you come to me for assistance in this delicate research?
Maybe a little of both.
He says, as for giving a dissertation to the School of Senses, you must speak as though you are speaking to a group of imbeciles, for you are. Use large words that sound very impressive. If you can make them rhyme, and slip from time to time into the languages of sand elves or lesser devils, all the better. Impressing the School of Senses is a matter of how much gold you're willing to show them you have behind your cause. And I know that the Udoc household has plenty of that. He says, as to the other, it's surprising that you would know anything about doors. I would have to first
something
look
that-
over the culmination of your research.
Only some notes in journals. One of my great uncles, great granduncles. Not exactly. The player isn't sure how the family tree squares away, but it.
Not important.
Lucius is referring to Amshun Udoc.
You're saying you found like a diary or something?
Yeah.
Okay.
Basically, he's kind of like Amshin would have written something about the ramblings of one Terran Kazmir about the nature of like how this place would have become. That's kind of where Lucius got his start.
So for those of us who aren't player characters in a campaign from 5 years ago, what McDohl is referring to is that in this setting used to be kind of cut off from the other planes. And then a bunch of uppity heroes came along and opened a bunch of doors, which was hilarious. Why would they? Yeah. From the point of view of anybody living in Dunfoss through the past century or so, especially somebody in, say, Warlock's Bane's line of work, you would see an uptick in devils and celestials and other sort of outer planar creatures. Never to the point where they become common sights, obviously, but more and more credible sightings. Camped asks if you would bring this journal to his manor house.
When?
It tells you as soon as his convenience. He gives you some vague directions on how to reach it. It's not inside the city of Dunfoss. You have to travel north out of town for a little while, but it's within a day's travel.
Okay. My current line of work does keep me fairly busy. I don't know if I'd be able to. I don't know how soon I'll be able to tear myself away from that, but I will definitely make a point.
He asks what your line of work is.
I'm an investigator for Flumph.
Your card.
He asks if this journal you have and your personal inquiries into the subject, whether or not you have found any such doors within the confines of Dunfoss.
Lucius shakes his head.
He asks if you imagine this is because there are none to find, or you simply have not known where to look.
Given the preliminary research of what I have uncovered, I would imagine that it's a matter of knowing where to look rather than there just being a complete absence.
He leans down and whispers at you so that nobody could overhear. And he asks you a question, speaking in a very eloquent dialect of Infernal.
Mm-hmm.
And he asks, how strong do you believe the fabric of your reality is?
To be perfectly honest, given what I know, probably not very.
And he leans back, drinks deeply of his coffee. He says, "Then I look forward to your visit." Anything else you're looking to get out of camp?
No, I think it's good for now.
On your way out, you're stopped by one of the lesser clerks.
Mm-hmm.
He refunds your 45 gold pieces.
Okay.
He says, "Oh, there's no need. You're vouched for, sir." Gives you a curt nod.
Who vouched for me?
And he looks over in the direction of Camped, who is still sitting at his table after you vacated. And
Tip my hat to him.
And he from this distance across the room, he takes no notice of you.
Okay. Alright, well, that was an interesting encounter. And I'll head back to the barge.
Florian, how close are we to actually knowing how to do the jeweler's kit?
12.
I don't know what that's in reference to.
Neither do I. But I have 12 written down.
What do you need 12 of?
Checks, I'm assuming? 12. I think it's 12
maybe
days.
it's
Oh, okay.
work weeks
Yeah.
or
Gotcha.
something like that.
12 days.
All right, that brings us to the day of the 2nd.
I'll tell the others the conversation that I had at the at Telesna's Apt.